Did you think that journaling was only for teenage girls? Well, it ain't. Let's go. Hey guys, it's me, Sonny Tee, and welcome to the channel, the #1 place on the internet for entrepreneurs, period. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to get notifications. I think you're going to like what you see. When I first started journaling, I thought it was, well, kind of weird. I didn't really know what I should say. Was I the type of person that should be journaling? What journaling is all about and how it would fix things. I have a short story that I'll tell you really quickly, and what happened to me was to make me remember that writing down goals and journaling was important. #1, I talked to a friend of mine. He's like a little brother of mine, and he talked about how magical things were, how things would happen once you wrote them down. And it made me remember that I wrote a journal years ago, and it was just on a legal pad. And I just remember writing down everything that I wanted. We're going to talk about that getting closer to the end, so I want you to stick around because it's really important that you talk about this, what I'm going to tell you about. So I wrote down everything that I wanted, everything down to what type of woman I wanted to go out with, where I wanted to live at, what type of business I wanted, the whole shebang, and exactly where I wanted to do all of these things and traveling the world and everything that I'd done. And I revisited that maybe 3 or 4 years later, and it amazed me how I had done like 90%, 80% of what I had written. That's one of the reasons why you should journal, because you can write down exactly what it is that you want. And I think today what we're going to go over is what you should actually write in your journal. But a lot of it has to do with just what is really in your head. How do you think things should be? And going back to revisit that, going back to look and see how you thought 3 years ago, and how many changes you've made. Some of the same ideals that you had 3 or 4 years ago may not be the same, but then some of those ideals remain constant through 10 or 15 years. And that's how you know you're on the right path. So writing down your journal kind of leaves breadcrumbs for yourself. You look at your past and you see these little breadcrumbs leading up to who you are. And it gives you a book. Well, it's kind of the best written book you'll ever read, really, because it's your book. It's your life. It's what you want from life. And you can't lie to yourself. When you sit in the bed at night and you're looking up at the ceiling, counting the cracks because you can't sleep, and you only have yourself to talk to, you can't lie to yourself. You find out exactly what it is you're scared of. You find exactly what it is that you want. And what is that thing that's keeping you awake? What is that burning desire? And that's what we're going to talk about in another video coming up soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. So in this video, I'm going to start off about what should you write in your journal. And the first section that I use in my journal is book summaries, book reviews, what I thought of a book. Books are meant to be written in. I remember going through college, the best books that you would buy were books that had already been earmarked, books that had been highlighted. The students before you, the notes they took were kind of like a Cliff Notes, right? Nancy's back there shaking her head. They were kind of like a Cliff Notes, like a crib sheet for you to figure out exactly what it is the class was about. And so buying used books had those benefits. Books should be written in, drawn in, all your ideas. Not all books will resonate with you, but there will be one thing that you thought that was really good. That's what you should rewrite and put it in your journal. Before we talk about everything else that goes on in the journal, I also wanted to talk about the cone of learning, right? And I'll put this up on the screen right now, but basically what it means is that you only remember 10% of what you see or 20% of what you hear. The exact numbers are going to be there. But 90% of what you remember is what you see, hear, and do. And that's what's so important about journaling. Doing it, getting the work done, action, holding yourself accountable, and getting shit done. The more you go through your journal and start to make things happen, looking at your goals and walking through them, and it's amazing. I never realized, and I just told Nancy this tonight, I never realized how organization could really benefit me And I'm one of the most organized dudes I know now. I line up everything, I write everything down, and there's something about a pen. I don't care what kind of pen it is. There's just something about taking this and putting it to a paper and actually writing out the words. This shit right here is really important. And an old guy, I don't even like the dude, but this is what he used to say to me. Nancy will know who he is when I say it, but he used to say, the dullest pencil will beat the sharpest mind every time. And I didn't even like this dude, but you get something from everybody, right? And he used to say this, lived in Dominican Republic. I hated that dude. But that was something that I took with me, and it's really, really important that you write things down. There is something magical that happens when you write it down. This same little brother of mine, I'll call him David, he talked about when he reads books that he likes to write down what he reads. And once you keep doing that in repetition and going back and reading it in your journal, you'll start to burn it in your memory, and you'll start to see exactly what it is you want to do and what you want to be, and revisit that. You don't have to go back and read the whole book because you've already written down the key elements that you really liked. So go back and revisit your journal. Section number 2 is something that I actually got from Oprah Winfrey, and it's called a gratitude journal. She's known for her gratitude journal, and I think when I read her book, she said that she had 15 years of writing in her journal of gratitude, what she was grateful for. And she would write down 5 things every day on what she was grateful for. So there was this guy, I don't even know who he was, and he was doing a seminar, but during the seminar, he talks about gratitude. And he said some amazing things happened. And first I'm like, man, why would you write this down? And it didn't make sense to me. And I'm paraphrasing here, so don't hold me to this. But it was something like this. He basically said that when you start to think about, you have to write down 5 things to be grateful for every day, some magical shit happens, because here in the middle of the day, getting towards the end of the day, you start thinking to yourself, man, I got to go home and write down 5 things I'm grateful for. So now you're training yourself to look for the good shit to go on in your life every day. And I thought that was amazing. Why you should be positive, training yourself to be positive. Man, if you look at sales copy, negative copy works better than positive copy. If you look at headlines, negative headlines in the news and news in general, negative news does better than a positive news story. Our lives default run on negative shit because when we were cavemen and organisms, all we're trying to do is survive. If you look at Ebola, all it's trying to do is survive. So it eats up everything around it. It kills anything, and it just wants to eat everything, and because it's trying to survive. It's hard to kill the common cold because it just wants to survive. So you as a human, all you're trying to do is survive. You need to get off the defense and get on offense and think positive. And that right there is what gratitude is going to do for you. Section number 3 is what I really like about journaling, and it's a brain dump. One journal is kind of like, here are the dates, this is what I write down, and I kind of keep, this is almost like a Dear Diary almost thing. And I write down what I was feeling, how I felt. Like recently my daughter got married, and I didn't like it too much. Right? I kind of liked it and I kind of didn't like it because my daughter decided to say that her name wasn't my last name anymore. So that was kind of a sad thing. But at the same time, it was a happy thing, so I wrote that down. But in this journal, this is my brain dump journal. And in this one, like you can see my little happy Thanksgiving turkey there. And in this journal, I write down all my thoughts. I just brain dump in here. You can see here, this is Happy New Year. I draw little doodles. I get creative. And this is where I really I put together funnels here, lead magnets. This is where my goals go. I'm not telling you to have 2 journals, but this is only 2, and I believe I have one little small one that Nancy bought me that I carry around with me every once in a while to keep notes. Get in the habit of getting a journal that's really comfortable for you. So this journal, you can see how big, I have big hands, but you can see I can carry this journal anywhere I go. And having a smaller journal, and we'll talk about that getting towards the end of the video, so hang in there. But I like having a smaller journal so you can carry it with you everywhere you go. I love my journal. Getting back to brain dumps though, so you want to just kind of dump anything you have. I know that I had written in my notes here that I wanted to not miss a big idea. So you know how you're just kind of thinking about shit and you're like, what if this and what if that? And we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. I talk about this in my Think and Grow Rich video that's coming up this week. But I talk about how you have that what if and you need to live there. This is where entrepreneurs live. And those big ideas come through your head so often. You don't know when they're going to happen. Something could remind you of that. Nancy is my muse. She's always talking to me about something. I'll be like, boom, hold on, what if? And then she and I will start a what if game. And that stuff, that's what you need to dump in here. Some are garbage, but some of them are good. And here's what you don't want to happen. You don't want to say, man, Nancy, remember that one time that we were talking? What were we talking about? And it could have been a million ideas. Put it in the book. The next section I like is the dream section. This is your freedom. This is everything that you want. This is the $1 million yachts. This is the Ferraris and everything that you want in life. This is your cow patches. This is your cheese balls, I say, if you want to live in farms. One thing I always watch about Ty Lopez, if you watch him, he'll go to the countryside. He wants to appeal to everybody. So he'll go to the countryside, then he'll travel all over the world. Then he'll go to his Hollywood mansion, but he also has a small little house in New York, a little apartment in New York. He wants to appeal to everybody, and that's why I use all these examples. Maybe you don't want a Ferrari and you don't want, a big mansion, and you don't want to live in Monaco, but perhaps you'd like to have a big farm with 30 acres and be off the grid. Whatever that is for you, draw in there, be creative. You saw my little doodles. It doesn't matter whether you're an artist or not. Draw what's in your head. Talk about all the things that you would do. And this is another big one. If money was no object and you didn't have to work, what would you do every day? What does that day look like? And this is the part of the journal that really starts to shine, because there's something, again, it's magical, man. I'm telling you now. And it's not some fucking woo-woo shit I'm giving you here. Not some Lucky Charms, magically delicious. I'm telling you, there's something magical that happens when you put the pen to paper and you start to visualize what you want, man. Trust me, this shit works. Section number 5, I like to put down notes from anything that I've seen online. And this is my swipe section. So what I like to, if I've seen a seminar online, if I've downloaded something, maybe I've downloaded a Russell Brunson video, or maybe I downloaded something from Frank Kern. If you're on my list, you got a big, long 2-hour Frank Kern video, talks about Bob. If you haven't watched that, then send me an email and I'll get it to you. But that video is 2 hours long, but you really want to write down things that mean something to you through that webinar or through that seminar, or through that class, or other things like that. But this is just the online medium, things that you did. Maybe you went to a seminar live with Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins events are fucking long. They're 14-hour days and 5 days long. He really gives a lot of value. But during that time, you want to write everything down in your journal, keep it fresh, because you had to pay $2,500 to be there. Write it down so you can remember it and revisit it. Try to, if you can, try to get some recordings of everything. But if you can't, writing it down and writing down what's important to you in your journal so you can remember those things and go back to them is really important. My last section, it's not the last section, but this is kind of like an organized thing here, is my business section, and it's the goals section. Now, this is probably the most important section for me, where literally it should be the personal fitness section, should be my favorite section, but we'll get to that, right? I'm working on it. But the business section, man, writing down your goals is really important. And without going too deep into writing how you should write your goals, Denzel Washington has a great video. And I remember only watching a portion of that video, and Nancy's like, no, dude, there's more to that. I never knew what writing goals were. So here's how you write goals when you don't know what you're doing. I want to make $1 million. I want a boat. I want to drive a Ferrari. Those aren't action goals. Goals need to have action. How are you going to get the Ferrari? And goals take a long time. I remember talking to my same friend, David. He's like my little brother. And he said, man, when you write your goals down, it takes a long time. And I didn't get that when he first said it. I'm like, what is he talking about? I did a course on writing goals. And I found out that goals need to have actions. So it's just not a list of things that you want to have, like a dream list of things that you want to have. That's for your freedom section. But how are you going to attain the goals in your business? Gotta have those goals. Zig Ziglar has a nice course on goals, and it's called, and he says it through the whole thing, goals. He says, gotta have those goals. love Zig Ziglar, and that really helped me. And he said the number one thing that you should probably do to start to learn how goals work is write a book. And I didn't understand it again until he explained it. But he's like, books can be broken down. How much can you write? Write for and see how much time do you have to write every day? Well, I could write for 45 minutes. How much have you written in that 45 minutes? I've probably written like a chapter and a half or so, maybe 4 or 5 pages. How many pages is your book once you've outlined it? Oh, it's 245 pages. Okay, then that means it's going to take you X amount of time to write this book if you write 45 minutes a day for 5 or 6 pages a day. In this amount of days, you'll have it done. In other words, goals work, and you will be a millionaire. You will have everything you want when you write it down and make it action-based. So when you say you want to have $1 million, you have to say how you're going to get it. You have to be specific. How am I going to do this? Well, I know having $1 million takes making, I don't know, don't get me the line. Let's just say it's $1,000 a day or whatever it is. You guys already know the math. And then I have to sell this many things to make that happen. How am I going to make that happen? I'm going to send out X amount of emails, and I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to put out this many ads. I'm going to do this, and that should add up to bam. Everything has a system and a process, and that's what's beautiful about writing down your goals. At the moment I found that out, I was so excited. I found out, wait a minute, getting rich, being successful is not luck. I can fucking do this. If I just write down how I can do it, follow my own instructions, I have a map to success. Real. It blew my mind. So my business section is my favorite section. That's this book right here, is my favorite book. This is the one I carry with me everywhere, because when it's time to do a funnel, when it's time to write down some goals that I want to do, I write down, here's Denzel for you. Write down daily goals, write down weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals. And here's where it really gets weird. Write down your legacy goals. What's going to happen when you leave? When you start to realize that you can write goals for 1,000 years away, it's amazing. And it gives you a certain amount of freedom. So I know this video is getting really long, but I get excited when I talk about this because I honestly believe that this is how you coach yourself into being $1 million successful empire, whatever it is you decided to want to be. If you want to be the best cheese whiz maker dude in the world, journaling is how you're going to do it. Before I leave, I want to talk about journals themselves. This is a moleskin journal. They get more expensive than this. This moleskin has a nice little feeling on the outside to it, but I like a little bit more expensive journals. Jim Rohn said, why would you want to put $1 million ideas in a cheap ass book? And I feel the same way about writing instrument. Right now, Nancy's in the doghouse because she lost my Mont Blanc pen somewhere in the house. And I really like Mont Blanc pens because they write really smooth, but they have fat lines. A lot of people that you will run into that talks about journals like really thin pencil-like pens that really have a thin tip. And that all comes down to what's comfortable for you. This is easy for me to carry in my hand. It's small enough to me throw in a backpack if I want to, and I can get around with it. But what's more comfortable for you? The most important thing here is that you don't buy something so uncomfortable that you don't carry it around, and don't buy a pen you don't like because it costs $1 million, but you hate writing with it. If it's a $2 Bic, so be it. If it's a $5 book, that's cool too. The most important thing is that you use it. So don't get caught up in what type of journal I did. What type of journal should I buy? And I Googled it and all that because I had no idea what any of this was. But now, I love my moleskin journal, and I don't know if I'll buy anything else, but I do like to have the big journal that you wrap up with the leather case on it, and it looks like it's 1,000,000 years old. And I do like having a Mont Blanc pen, and the writing instruments I'm into, and they're like $400 or $500. But get what you like. And I don't believe that I should be writing my ideas in a $2 book with a 15-cent pen either. They're $1 million ideas, and it's your book. Right now seems like the best time that I can tell you to like this video if you like it. Comment below and tell me some of your journaling tips if you have any. Share this video, man. Somebody might like what they see here. And subscribe to this video if you haven't subscribed, and hit that bell button to give you reminders of when I upload these videos. Journaling, entrepreneurship, and success is an everyday thing, man. No excuses, no explanations. Let's get it done.